I am the product of marijuana. It, it's true. It's true. I learned this though the week my mother died. For context, I'm from the Dare generation, just say no, lifelong of Catholic schooling. And all these things have built up, and I was always told, marijuana is bad. It's a gateway drug. It's illegal. It's only going to lead you away from your path. Now, I was an obedient kid because I had excellent parents. This was more than new sneakers every year, skateboards, video games. My parents made me articulate daily over family dinner how I felt about my day. It's because my mother cared. She cared for everyone, people she didn't even know. She would ask me almost every day, just, Ryan, go find that kid in the corner of the classroom that maybe doesn't have many friends, or no one talks to, and just say hi to them. Just try to give them a smile. So why did I decide to start smoking weed in sixth grade? I'm still not sure. I'm going to blame rap music. Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. Yeah. I think those early 90s politicians were right. But what I liked about weed, and even now in a cocktail, is the camaraderie, the pageantry of it all. It's just a fun way to connect. Now, from my perspective, my family's marijuana story all started when my brother first got caught smoking pot. He was in high school, and when he got caught smoking, my parents were livid. Like, we got in family arguments all the time, nothing too crazy. And my parents, all my family for that matter, big people, but even way bigger on emotions. If things boiled over, you could feel it. But this time just felt so much more tumultuous to me. When my brother got caught, what happens is another set of parents hear him talking on the phone. And if I could go back right now, if I could engineer a way to go back in time, I would just tell him, like, Adam, please do not talk on the phone about weed. Our parents are going to beat your ass, and just like have that just go over his head just so he can find out. So these parents find out, they call my parents, they call my brother. He has to come home, face the music. Now, as I'm waiting for my brother to come home, my parents are dead silent, but you can like hear how angry they were still. And I'm just in the hallway hiding from my parents. I'm so scared for my brother. Just, I guess it's going to go, this is bad. The moment he walks in through the door, it's on sight, just fighting immediately. I'm at the end of the hallway and I can just stare down, and my dad's a pretty burly guy, and he has my 6'2" offensive tackle brother posted up by his neck. I swear, I see his feet dangling, and I'm just like so scared for him. I just want to protect my brother. And at age 12, I was built like a cannonball. I'm 5'4", 220, just, and I'm just standing there, just scared. So I envision myself as such, and as I'm there, all of that fear just transitions into attack. Straight out of the cannon, I'm flying down the hallway, just boom, right into my dad. He goes to the floor. We're now in a full scramble. And this is not normal for my family to be in a full physical altercation. Like, this has never happened before. My mom is screaming. She's absolutely screaming. And all that screaming just eases us down a little bit to where we're like, looking like, whoa, like Ryan's little body flew through the air. We fought. Like, this is. So we transition into a conversation. And as my parents sit us down and they're talking to us, all the words that they're saying are just silent to the words that are in my head. Like, I could hear that they were mad at my brother for lying. I knew that they were upset for him doing something illegal. Now, had they known I had just started smoking weed 2 weeks prior, like it's on sight for me. I'm the one that's getting choked, right? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And if my brother ever hears this, Adam, I'm so sorry. I did not want the smoke. I was too young for this. But I'm the product of marijuana. I find this out at 21. I'm days removed from trying to resuscitate my mother. My mother, she died suddenly of a heart attack in the hands of my brother and I. And when you go through something like that, you lose faith in God. Like, it's done. You lose faith in tangible things. Nothing mattered anymore. I did not care about a thing. My mother was gone. So days and days of grieving, just as we get ready for the funeral, all of that emotion, it's suffocating. It's just so suffocating. Every time someone would come over and I'm so sorry for your loss. It was really about them trying to feel better. It was their way of coping. I needed mine. I just was thinking of my mom, just right, her big old blue eyes, her curly hair, and I wanted to be her son. I had to find a way to cut the denseness of all this misery. It was a high school football coach that came over. This is probably the only person that really said something in that time that I remember. And this man's a legend, like multiple-time national champion, Hall of Fame, already inducted in the National Hall of Fame of football. Like, this guy's a legend. But it's what he does for young men that really changes. And this was my moment. He comes in the house and he just puts his hand on my shoulder. He's like, Ryan, this sucks. This fucking sucks. Just don't pass up the opportunity to smile. Okay. Try to laugh, try to smile. So that next day, I'm sitting in my grandmother's living room with about 20 friends and family and try to laugh. Hey, do you guys remember that time Mom almost died because she got into an active geyser in Yellowstone because she thought it felt like a jacuzzi? It's like my mother in a nutshell right there. It was awesome. Everyone starts laughing a little bit more. Story after story comes out. And it's an older brother figure of mine that chimes in and yells across the room to my dad, hey, Andy, this will make you laugh. I'm excited. It's just a couple more minutes that I'm relieved of grief. Did you know when Ryan was in 6th grade, he would bring weed over to our house and smoke all of us high schoolers out? Everyone's hysterical. They're laughing. They're just staring at me. And I'm somewhere between defensive and hysterical myself. And all I can do is like... I learned another little thing at that time is that you really can't get in trouble for something when you're actively grieving. Like, I wouldn't like seek grief out, but this is something that I did learn at that time. I look at my dad and I'm expecting a reaction. And he just goes, hey, son, did I ever tell you a story about how your mom and I met? I'm like, well, yeah, kind of. You had a sick friend and mom worked at the hospital. He's like, well, yeah, but there's a little bit more to that. Okay. So my dad starts to tell the story. His friend has been in a long battle with cancer. He's in his last days. And night after night, when my dad would get off work, he'd go and visit him. And one night, a nurse stops him, taps him on his shoulder. Excuse me. Dad's like, yeah. Nurse is just staring at him. She goes, you're Mexican, right? Yeah, my dad responds, and she's still staring at him. She goes, so you know where to get weed? Excuse me? He's like, nurse like, hold on. I see you visit your friend day after day. I can see how much he means to you. My dad's like, all right. She's like, well, just hear me out. Your friend, all the chemo, his organs are itching. It's making his life even more miserable. So here it is. How about you get your buddies together? I'm going to roll some towels under the door. I'll unlock the window. You get your boys together. You get your friend high one last time. See him out and just have a beautiful moment with him one last time. So they got high in a hospital. Kid you not. Later that week, my dad's friend passes. And at the funeral, my dad sees the nurse. He goes over to her just to say thank you. He then asks that nurse out. And it's why I'm here telling the story today. It's a tide of emotion when you have admiration and sadness together. It's weird how these feelings can kind of marry together pretty well. As I heard that story, I just was like, man, my mom was cool. And it just made me so sad that I never got to actually say those words to her. Just, Mom, you're cool. When you have that struggle, that tension, all that feeling, for me, it just felt like I was in a home video and she was on the other side. And I just wanted to be on the other side with her, taking it in. That was a moment we should have shared. But it's with that tension and struggle, you can find some joy in that balance of life. There was still some good there. And as I realized, the weight of pain, it perfectly scales with joy. And this feeling for me, I always say it's like a sandcastle. It's beautiful, it's delicate, but day after day, it's probably going to need to be rebuilt. And so it's with this point of view I now have. I got to sit down with my dad just this past year. He comes, flies out, visits me in Austin. We're hanging out. He wants to have a cigar. So, yeah, Dad, let's go have a smoke. We'll go in the backyard. So he goes out into the backyard. Laying there is my big old table, and there's a yellow citronella candle. So my dad sits down, he opens up the citronella candle. In that moment, I am 12 years old all over again. My dad looks at me, son, what are these? He looks at me and goes, for context, it's about 5 almost finished joints just sitting in there. Son, you got to finish these. So we hit the joints. It was awesome. It was great. So we're a little high. We're sitting there, and as I'm with my dad, he start talking. And we're like, it's kind of funny how our whole life just started because of this plant. It's also, hard for him to articulate that. Like, what he was trying to do was just protect us from what we're supposed to do, weeds bad, all that. It's just what he was doing his best. We also talked that we lost the most important woman in our world. We shared that. It's funny about weed and family. You feel their effects most once they're gone. Now, I don't need to be, I can be high to communicate with my mother. Mom, you could just ask people if they have weed nowadays. You do not have to ask if they're Mexican. Mom, just also thank you so much for just trying your best for our family. Your boys, we're trying our best now too. And I don't think I'll ever fully be okay, and that's okay. But I promise, I do promise that I'm going to try and continue to spread smiles with this big smile on my face. Thank you.